Welcome to the PBL Simplified podcast for administrators. Brought to you by Magnify Learning, your customized PBL partner. From over a decade of experience with you in the trenches, we are bringing you this top-rated educational podcast designed for visionary school administrators seeking to transform their schools with project-based learning. Launch your vision, live your why, and lead inspired. Here's your host, Ryan Stoyer.
Welcome to the PBL Simplified podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Stoyer, and today I want to break down a visit that I had to a school that was a CTE school. And what I saw was absolutely amazing. The work they're doing is absolutely amazing, and I got so excited I thought I had to share it. This is how I do that, right? We do that on the podcast, we do it on the YouTube channel, all the handles anywhere at Magnify Learning, so you can follow us and get any of this information that's coming your way. We're super excited about CTE and project-based learning right now. We've done a bunch of trainings in that space, and there's just this idea, they're so filled with authentic projects, like they're just surrounded by it. And there's always, I shouldn't say always, but there's been this idea a lot of times that, hey, we're doing projects, so we're doing project-based learning, right? Like there's a difference, right? So there's a difference. So you have a lot of opportunities for project-based learning to happen. Yes, you're surrounded by authentic projects, but what if there was an instructional model that just allowed things to happen just a little smoother, gave you some pedagogy, gave you some structures, right? We've talked about that webinar before. If you want to check out that webinar, if you haven't heard that before, go to pblwebinar.com. That's pblwebinar.com, and there's a CTE webinar there. So I don't want to rehash all of that, but PBL and CTE go really, really well together. And I say that as, yes, a PBL aficionado, somebody that thinks that PBL can change the world, true, but also from the CTE teachers. Like, it's just like, where has this been my whole career? And some of the benefits really quickly, again, not going over the whole webinar with you this time, is just that, sometimes you have professionals from the field that have come into a school setting to help these teenagers learn about these different CTE disciplines. And they haven't always had the pedagogy teaching or the professional development to say, this is how you build out a lesson plan. Here's how you build engagement or voice and choice. And we've always found that project-based learning relates really well to transition to teaching teachers or CTE teachers that see the value of the real world solution aspect of project-based learning. And the functionality of the 6 steps from entry event to reflection really helps hone in on some of the projects that are happening in CTE, and also gives them a real world application, which is super important. So all of that to tee up the school visit I had today out in Maryland at Calvert County CTE program is just phenomenal. Carrie Atkins is the director out there. Ashley Curtin's helping to coach, and they've intertwined CTE and project-based learning in just a masterful way, right? We've been doing this for over a decade, and it doesn't take long to figure out, just by having a conversation, some of the words that we value match their values. And we go in and there's, project-based learning specifically up on the wall, and they have, things that they've printed out to show that project-based learning is working in this setting. And then my tour was really just fantastic. So as we go through some of the spaces, right, that are fun, that are exciting, we've got like cybersecurity, which doesn't look awesome all the time because it's really just a bunch of computers. And you've got some really innovative CTE spaces that we'll get to here in a second. But the work that's happening within those, the wording that's on the wall, right? They're talking about phishing tactics, a pH phishing, right? And talking about Trojan horses and work that's obviously very relevant today and that kids are getting experience in while they're in high school. That's amazing. Medical spaces are just always amazing for me. I don't know that I've seen one that's this real world, right? We kind of talked about that. Like, how do we give our learners real world experiences while they're in high school? And yes, they could go to a hospital and should go to a hospital, right? Because there's a piece that's different. But golly, you go into this section that was like the doctor's office side, and it looked like a doctor's office, like 100%. And there were mannequins. I think it was Annie was the mannequin's name. And she wasn't just like the CPR doll, to get your CPR certification on. She could be controlled by an iPad. So the learners go into this doctor setting and they have to have like a bedside manner. They come and say, "Hi, Annie, how are you doing?" And Annie can be grumpy, but she can respond. She could be really nice and pleasant. She can gag and throw up, and like the learners have to like go and get like this bowl to like help her out, right? And she can have all these different symptoms that, you know, if you go to a doctor's office on any given day, you likely won't see, right? But they can simulate those things. They can take blood pressure, and so sure, there's a simulation, but golly, it sure is close to real world, right? And then they create some scenarios around those and some real world settings that we'll talk about in just a second to allow those learners to have these real world experiences before they ever get into school, before they ever get into a doctor's office. And what we find is sometimes there are some learners that are like, nope, this isn't for me. Well, isn't that great to figure that out before you've gone through 2 years of college and have debt racked up that, you know, this isn't the career for you? Like, I love that it's in this K-12 setting where learners can figure these kind of things out. And then there's a whole hospital side, and you walk through the door and there's, I don't know, 20 hospital beds, even to the point where like they have like the little ice water cups that like I recognize from like when my kids were being born in the hospital. I was like, yes, like that's exactly what's in the hospital. And they see all those things, they're experiencing those things in a way that, you know, you could never get from a textbook, right? Or even like career day, right? Like somebody comes in, a nurse comes in and says, hey, here's what we do. And I want to get into some of the other amazing things that I heard is I just want to talk about the certifications for a minute. Just in the last couple of years, they've made the certifications mandatory. So all the learners go through these certifications in whatever discipline they're in. And prior to that, you know, there was an expense. They get to pay for the certification. You might not pass it, so you could pay for it and not pass it, which sounds pretty much lose-lose, right? Even though college is a lot like that, so we need to get our kids prepared, right, for those same things. So eventually they've got certifications paid for by an outside entity. They got some community partners to pay, and now the state does. But now all of their learners are getting certifications, and they're like a 92% pass rate on those certifications across all disciplines. And really, as I talked to Carrie, the director, she says, and really one of the certifications got changed like midstream. So next year we're going to be 96% across like 600 plus students. That's such a big deal. Like kids are getting these certifications. They're leaving with these certifications. So let me continue to take you around their school though. Like they've got a welding class that's absolutely amazing. They've got, which is just a full on welding shop. They've got some automated pieces in there. It wasn't live because that would have been awesome though. Like I can just see the sparks flying. Like this work's happening. And when these kids are leaving with these certifications, they could be making 6 figures coming right out of high school. Somehow that doesn't usually make like a district social media, you know, like those signing days, like when you get signed on, a kid's going to go play tennis at a college, or someplace you got signing because they're going to attend college, which is great. Like we should absolutely celebrate those things. And this is going to be a future episode. Maybe Carrie can rant about this a little bit, but this is definitely in my category of rants where the things that are happening in CTE are simply amazing. Like normally for some of these welding positions, you need multiple years of experience, but because you've got these relationships built with these CTE programs and kids are leaving with real world skills that are high quality, you can literally have a 6-figure job coming out of high school. That's a big deal. Like we need to be celebrating that and expanding that. So that's why we're super excited about PBL in these CTE spaces. Let me think. Oh gosh, the automotive section was amazing. I felt like I should have pulled my van in there or my dually in there to get it worked on because it was a beautiful shop. It was huge. They had a Corvette in there. You could see that, you know, kids could change tires, brakes, like the whole gamut. Like it looked like your auto body shop that you might pull your car into. The careers that kids are getting ready for and the leg up that they have by just having this program here is simply phenomenal. So all these CTE programs out there, like number one, if this doesn't sound like your program or you're like, yes, I love that, I want more of that, let's set up a tour, right? Like let's get you out to Maryland, like go see this, like go talk shop, if you will, pun intended, and just get the push for excellence that's happening. Not sure that's always been there. I am sure that CTE programs often have a stigma that there's not excellence in there, right? There's the idea of there's this academic hallway down here. That's where kids go that are good at school and are going to go to college. And then there's the other path, right? And kids get sorted and filtered. And I can see some of you nodding and getting a little angry. It's like, and you should. But how do we get that stigma off of CTE programs to show like this is a super viable path for kids that are really just about any kid could go down there? And I say that with total confidence because Carrie and her crew actually had some kids that are taking AP English. They had to get AP English moved over to their building and welding, right? So you've got some electrical engineers that are in there actually, making outlets. There's a whole HVAC side to things. So you've got these, 2x4 walls that are up here and they install the HVAC. There's a plumbing side. So they installed the sink, the toilet, they ran all the lines. Like those things are fantastic, right? And again, very good careers coming out of there. Right out of high school, you've got apprenticeships that can happen, a lot of amazing things that can happen. And as I'm taking this tour, I'm just constantly thinking, how do we not talk about this more? How is this not being paraded around districts as, the amazing work that's happening? And if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I get it, Ryan, and I want to do that. Gosh, again, let's start with a tour. It's one of my favorite places to start. If you're not sure how to blend CTE and PBL, if you're not sure how to take your CTE program to the next level, go see it. Go see what's possible because it's absolutely amazing. Again, 92, 96% passing other certifications. Kids that were maybe getting lost in a system, finding their place. Carrie has so many great examples of kids that were super quiet when they started. And then they come in and they're winning these awards in CTE in like die cutting competitions and suddenly talking in front of thousands of people. Amazing, amazing things happen. And there is definitely a link to project-based learning and the excellence that's happening in that CTE program. I don't think that's an accident. They see the intersection and they see it as super positive. That we're not just doing a project in isolation, but we're connecting that to the real world. We're connecting that to opportunities beyond. And that's where I think I get super excited, like so excited that I have to make a podcast episode as soon as I get home, right? Like I didn't take a ton of notes. This is just like flowing out of me, like flowing out of my heart and my brain, because these are the environments that can just thrive. And again, you know that we do this in all types of classrooms, but this is just my latest visit to the CTE program that I was just floored yet again at the amazing work that you all are doing out there. And if you're just dipping your toe in, can I invite you again? Go take a visit. Go get inspired. See the vision, because that's where things start to come to fruition, right? You have to see the vision first. You have to look at, in this case, your CTE program, and maybe it's not where you want it to be. You have to go and see this level of excellence and listen to the people and the structures that are there and be like, yep, we could do that. Yep, we could do that. There's likely some changes you need to make, right? This didn't just magically happen. There are a lot of people working really hard and thinking differently about things in order to make these things happen, right? They're going and pushing the boundaries in some areas and saying, hey, we have to have this to make our CTE program awesome. And they're fighting for those things. And you might be wondering, like you would do that. You would fight for it, but you're not always sure what to fight for. So again, take a visit, right? We have CTE specific trainings for project-based learning, of course. So if you already get the vision, like we'd love to come partner with you. We absolutely customize the workshop specifically for CTE programs. So if your CTE teachers have ever sat through like a lesson planning for AP biology and not gotten anything out of it and been a little disgruntled appropriately, that's not what this is. This is absolutely customized. And again, AP bio, love you. Just different than CTE. That's okay. It's just different. That's why at Magnify Learning, we customize everything. It's one of our core values. We customize every single training. Right? Every conversation we have, we're customizing that training. And is it harder to do it that way? Of course it is. Is it more sustainable? Yes, it is. And that's what we're looking for. We want it to stick. We want you to be a fully sustainable environment where project-based learning is thriving, and you have this internal innovation. It's one of our favorite phrases. It's usually behind the scenes, actually. We want you to have this internal innovation where you don't need us to even innovate. You might come across an obstacle, and now you've got processes, you've got language, you've got teams that innovate around that problem so that you're ultimately like super successful. And that's where we want you to be. So I'm super fired up. If you go to pblwebinar.com, you can go see like the CTE and PBL webinar. That'll give you like the baseline. If you want to talk about this stuff, obviously I would love to talk to you about that. If you want to talk about it on the podcast, reach out. Would love to have you on the podcast. Let's talk about your CTE program. Let's share it with the world. You're doing amazing things. Let's shout it out so everybody knows. You're going to talk about training, same thing. You can go to callmagnify.com. Callmagnify.com. Either one, it'll get to us, and we'd love to celebrate the work you're doing. All right. That was today's podcast, and just want you to know that we appreciate the work you're doing. You're doing amazing work. If we can come alongside you to magnify that in any way, we'd love to. Go out and lead inspired.
That's just what I needed to bring PBL to my school. If that sounds like you, please consider rating and reviewing the show. It only takes 2 minutes to scroll to the bottom, tap to rate with 5 stars, and select Write a Review. Then be sure to let us know what was most helpful about that episode. Your review helps the next inspired leader, just like you, find their why and lead inspired.